What's up, it's Tim here from Exposure Ninja, and in this video we're going to look at how to choose the perfect call to action for your website. So first up, what is a call to action and why is it so important? Well, a call to action is the thing that you want visitors to do on your website. For example, when you go onto an Amazon page, the thing that they want you to do is add that product to your basket. Most websites fall down with their calls to action. They're just not compelling enough. They're not effective at converting a visitor into a lead or sale. And that's why their digital marketing underperforms, or that's one of the reasons why their digital marketing performs. So your CTA is probably the single most important element on your entire website. In this video, we're going to have a look at some examples, and I'm going to run you through a process that you can use to identify what the perfect CTA is for your market. Now, just to give a bit of context on this, we're going to look at some example CTAs, and I'm going to give you a bit more of a background on why this stuff is so important. So let's imagine that 1,000 people visit a website that looks like this. Now, we have no affiliation to this website, we didn't build it. I can tell you from looking at it that there are probably multiple decision makers on the client side, and it probably cost a lot more than they expected and took a lot longer. And I can also tell you that it's probably fairly ineffective at generating leads for the business. But anyway, let's imagine that 1,000 people visit a website like this. What happens? Well, there's going to be two groups of people. The first group of people is a group of 990. So the majority of the visitors onto this site are going to be in this big group here. And then we've got a second group of people that is just a tiny little sliver of 10 people. So this 990 people, as you might have guessed, is the 99% of visitors that leave a website without doing anything. So they come on, they have a look around, and then they leave. They don't convert, they don't become a lead. And this 10% is the 1%, this 10 visitors is the 1% of all these visitors that actually take an action on the page. So this probably feels pretty wasteful, because you can imagine that you're driving 1,000 visitors through something like pay-per-click advertising or SEO, or even just like meeting people face to face. Imagine meeting 1,000 people face to face, getting them to go onto your website, knowing that you're going to convert 1% of them or 10 of them into leads or sales. So it's pretty disastrous. And this probably feels quite wasteful, but actually, in fact, for many businesses, a 1% conversion rate would be an improvement on what they're getting at the moment. We're regularly sent sites to review that are getting a 0.5, sometimes less, % conversion rate, which means that they're generating less than one lead for every 200 visitors. Now, there's a whole bunch of different reasons why this might be the case, but one of the most important elements is the call to action that's used on the page. Now, here's another example of a page. This time it's a page that does perform well. In fact, this is one of the pages on the Exposure Ninja website. If you go on the Exposure Ninja website, you'll see that we've got this request a free marketing review, and you'll see it everywhere on the page. That's because it's our main call to action. It's the main thing that we're driving visitors through to. Now, imagine that 1,000 people visit a page like this. What happens? Well, we've still got two groups of people. We've still got the largest group here, the 635 this time. They are the 63.5% that land on the page and don't do anything. But this time, the number of people who do take the action is right up around 36.5%. So you can imagine, just comparing the two different websites and looking at the relative performance, 36 times more leads with the same amount of traffic. So that just goes to explain why having a strong call to action on your site is so important. Now, to be clear, strong call to action is only one of the elements that defines your website's conversion rate, but it is a very important one. And also, to be clear, a 36.5% conversion rate on a page is ridiculous. Right, most sites never get anywhere near that, and we wouldn't expect them to. Usually when we're working or building a client site, we're aiming for maybe a 4 to 6% conversion rate as a real top performer. The highest conversion rate we've ever built, by the way, was 33% for an entire site, not just for a single page, but for an entire site, which was, again, absolutely absurd. So I'll talk you through how you can improve your conversion rate as we go forward. But first, let's look at some of the mistakes that people make with their calls to action. So you saw there the free website and marketing review. Now, the great thing about that is we're telling you this is an incredible review. We're going to have a look at what you're doing with your website, what you're doing with digital marketing. We're going to make you a video. This thing is fantastic and it's completely free. So it has high perceived value and low perceived risk because it's free, you're not risking anything. Now, before we move forward and talk about what makes a perfect call to action, I want to show you some calls to action that underperform. So this first example is what we call a very low perceived value call to action, or an LPV CTA. So here we've got a paragraph of text on this website here, which is all about, this is for an architecture practice. And the text says, if you would like to know more about the architecture firm and how we can help, or find out more about our architecture, interior or product services, please contact us via one of the following. Then we've got an email address and a phone number. So what's the problem with this? Well, there's absolutely no perceived value in doing that. If you would like to know more about the company, right? Well, what's your website for? Your website's there to tell us about the business and about the work that you do. So the next step should be attractive, right? What we're expecting people to do here is to say, oh yeah, this business is qualified for us. I've seen enough that I really, really want to work with them. And we're not actually going out to them at all. We're just saying, we're just going to sit here. If you like what you see, or you want to find out a bit more about us, come and talk to us. Right, so very, very low perceived value. So a CTA like this, we'd expect to be converting less than 1%. They've also put it at the bottom of the page, which is another criminal offense in the world of conversion rate optimization. Talking of putting things at the bottom of the page, that's exactly where most people put their calls to action. So here we've got an entire page about this particular service. Now I've expanded this so you can see the full page. Usually you'd only see this section above the fold without scrolling. And of course, where have they put their call to action? They've put it right at the bottom there. So it says, whether you're a startup or established business, we can support you with the very best blah, blah, blah. To find out how to cut costs and future-proof your IT systems, call us on or email that. Right, completely useless from a conversion rate perspective, an absolute disaster because they've put it at the bottom of the page, no perceived value. Remember that every single page on your site has one clear goal, and that goal is to generate a lead or sale. So why would we put that call to action at the bottom of the page where people are not going to find it? Before we move on to talk about some good CTAs, I just want to take you through the kind of components of a good CTA. So first up, we've spoken a little bit about these already, but the first up is that we have to have a high perceived value. So what does that mean? It means that if I put my details into your site, I know I'm going to get something good. I know I'm going to get something that helps me and is it attractive. The higher the perceived value, for example, the free website and marketing review is absolutely killer. So people are really keen to get it. If we just said, hey, we do digital marketing, inquire. Right, we'd have very low perceived value because what am I going to get? Well, I've got no idea. Probably someone's going to pitch me. Right, that's the expectation, that's the perception. So the first component is a high perceived value. The higher the perceived value, the more your conversion rate will go up. The second component is low perceived risk. Okay, and this is a kind of, it's a balancing act. So if we said, we're gonna give you this amazing website review, all you need to do is get everyone in your business to come to our offices and sit down for a 3-hour meeting, we'd get 0 conversions because the perceived risk of that not being good is so high. Right? I've got to put so much work in to get that thing. Now that's an extreme example, but a kind of related trap that people fall into is they'll offer something on their website like a free consultation, and then they'll require all of these fields on the form that takes like half an hour to go through. I actually was reviewing a site the other day where the business was requesting the location postcode for an event. So imagine that I'm on my phone, I found someone who can manage my event, and I'm filling out the form, and then one of the required fields is the venue's postcode. Well, I don't have that. So I've got to then go and find it. I've got to dig it out, copy and paste it on my phone, which is a freaking nightmare, and then I've got to put it in this form. Well, why not just put venue, right? And then let people fill in whatever information they have in the top of their heads. They might not even have a venue in place. That doesn't mean they're not a qualified lead. So you've got to think about the perceived risk. Now, other things that you can do to lower the perceived risk will be using things like testimonials and case studies for the thing itself, right? So not just, you'll notice if you go on our review page, you'll see testimonials for the review, for the CTA. So people saying this review is incredible, this review is completely, we've implemented the stuff and we've transformed our business with it. So we're not giving testimonials just for Exposure Ninja. We're saying, look, this review is so good, here's people who are writing about it. So if your business offers a free consultation or something along those lines, that's something that you can do. Wow, this free consultation was incredible. No one tried to pitch me, it was just really useful. That type of thing raises the perceived value and lowers the perceived risk, and that's kind of a balancing act. So the lower the perceived risk, the higher the perceived value, the better your conversion rate is going to be. The third mistake is that the CTA is buried at the bottom of the page. Right, if you look at an Amazon product page, for example, let's imagine that that is an Amazon product page. Where do they put the buy button? Right, so you've got the product here, you've got a bit of text about it here, you've got a bit more text, you've got reviews. Where do they put the buy button? They put it exactly where you're expecting to see it. They put it there, right? There's a big fat button on a different color and they put it right on the right hand side of the page, exactly where you're expecting to see it. On mobile, where are they putting it? Got a bit of info about the product, and then you've got that buy button nice and high. What they're not doing is saying, right, because a typical responsive layout might look at all of this stuff first and then would look at this stuff later. So what they're not doing is they haven't got the product picture here, all of this info, all of the reviews, and then way down there they're putting the buy button. So they keep the buy button close to the top of the page on desktop and mobile, and that's really important. So don't bury your call to action at the bottom of the page. It's a recipe for disaster. And the fourth mistake that people make, and we'll come back to this in just a minute, is that it doesn't relate to the sales process. Right, their call to action doesn't relate to the sales process. So it would be something like subscribe to our newsletter, which has low perceived value, high perceived risk, because I'm just going to get spammed. Even if you have your newsletter sign up prominent on the site, it's still probably not going to get a very high conversion rate, and it has no relation to your sales process, meaning your sales team can't then phone someone up and say, hey, I noticed that you subscribe to our newsletter. That shows that you're interested in our business. Those leads are essentially useless. You've got to do so much work to build that relationship with people first. So let's have a look at some different flavors of the same sort of CTAs. So here we're going to look at some different solicitors firm CTAs. Call to action is in the right place. It's over here, exactly where we'd expect it. The label says, how can we help? Make an inquiry now. So if we think about perceived value, make an inquiry, not massively high. Perceived value is it? Low perceived risk. We're asked to put our name, our phone number, email address, and message. Best time to call. So we're slightly upping the perceived risk. I know that someone's going to phone call me. Now, I might make that a bit optional, because if I don't want to take a call or I'm busy during the day and I can't take calls, I might be put off by that. So we've slightly increased the perceived risk, but usually having a call to action like this is going to get you a conversion rate of between 2 to 3%, depending on the traffic source, obviously, depending on the market, depending how good looking your website is. Now, here's an example. This is in construction. The CTA there is request a quote, fill in your phone number for a free no obligation quote. You can also send us a message through the contact form. Now what they're doing there is, because they want this site to look all minimal, because they've had some amazing creative agency that doesn't understand conversion rates at all design this site, is they're forcing people to go to the contact page. They haven't even given a link to it. So I'm now forced to do the work to go and inquire about them to get a quote. So doing that type of thing typically get you a conversion rate of between 0 and 1%. Now here's one of our clients. This is a fantastic page, performs really well. I'm not going to tell you the exact conversion rate because obviously it's a client and it's confidential, but what I will do is I'll say that usually when you have this type of layout on a page with qualified traffic, you're usually looking at between 10 to 15% conversion rate. So we find out if you had PPI. Is that high perceived value? Yes, it is. Low perceived risk? Fairly low perceived risk. I mean, we're asking for a whole bunch of info, but because the perceived value is so high, that lowers the risk. The other thing that they've done to lower the perceived risk is they've got all these testimonials about the business nice and prominent here, and they've also got some reasons why you should choose them. So that's a really good page, and that's a good kind of model to take. Notice that the layout of that page is pretty much the same as an Amazon product page. You've got information about the product, some kind of key stuff there. You've even got an image on that side, and then you've got the call to action box exactly where you would expect to see it. So that's some good CTAs. How do you go about designing your own CTA? Well, let me show you. What we're going to do first is you're going to design what your customer journey looks like. Okay, so we've got this line. Now, this side of the line is where your customer is now. And your customer typically has some sort of issue which makes them sad, right? They have some pain or they need some kind of solution. So for Exposure Ninja, for example, our clients don't have enough volume of leads and sales through their website. They need help with that stuff, so that's where their pain comes from. Now, on the other side of the line is their end result, their desired outcome. Okay, so in Exposure Ninja's case, we've got a website, good volume of leads and sales coming through, nice and consistent, and we can scale it up and down as we need. So that's the kind of journey that they need to go on. Now, the goal of your call to action is to get them along this journey. Now, you're not going to take them all the way in your website CTA. So for example, Exposure Ninja, we would never say, fill in your details here and we'll do all of your digital marketing for you at absolutely no charge or obligation. Right, that call to action would be getting them all the way over here, but obviously it wouldn't even be a business. So what we do instead is we say, okay, first thing that we need to do is we need to identify what the issues are with your website and with your digital marketing currently. So if we do that, that gets us to about here on the journey, because once we've then found those issues, we can begin to fix them and we can move ahead. So that's what the call to action does, is it gets them part of the way along that journey. Now, let's say, for example, that you're a solicitors firm and you want to improve the performance of your website. Well, where are your people now? Your target audience might be, let's say that they need to make a will, right? So here they are, no will in place. At the moment, they're thinking all of their money is going to go to the government as soon as they die. They're very, very sad about this, whereas where they want to get to, they want to know that everything's taken care of, that their little darlings are going to be safe forever and they're going to enjoy all of the money and all that type of stuff. So what's the process that person needs to go on? Well, first thing they need to do is they probably need to take an inventory of what they've actually got in their lives, and then they need to look at how much a will's going to cost and all that type of stuff. So what we might do is we might have a free consultation here, which looks at what does your will actually need to look like, what sort of provisions do you need to make for the future, and how much is all this going to cost. So we might label this as the, whatever kind of consultation, the free will consultation, and then we'd say to people during this consultation, we're going to find out what it's going to involve, we're going to get you a price for your will, blah 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 blah. So we're offering something which is going to take them closer to their goals. It's not going to take them all the way, but it's going to take them closer. Now, this does a few things. Firstly, it gives that potential customer confidence that you're good at doing what you say you're going to do. Because look, you've already moved them part of the way along the line. You haven't moved them all the way, but you've moved them part of the way along the line, which shows that you can actually help. So as Frank Kern says, show people that you can actually help by actually helping. The other thing it does is it starts the sales conversation, right? So whereas a free newsletter, where does the free newsletter sit on this site, on this line? Well, it sits absolutely nowhere because it's completely unrelated to the sales process, whereas some kind of free consultation actually begins that person going through the process of buying from you. So, questions to ask when you're designing your call to action. First question is, at the point of making the inquiry, what does your customer actually want? At the point of making that inquiry. So they're landing on your website, they need whatever it is that you're offering, but they're not going to go for it straight away. What do they really need? What's the blockage that's stopping them from moving forward with you at that point? Usually it's something like, I don't know if this business has the expertise. It might be that they don't know the price. It might be that they don't know if they're qualified. Right, there's loads of potential reasons where they might not get in contact with you. So what your CTA needs to do is answer these questions, answer whatever question is in their head. So for example, if people don't know if they're qualified, PPI is a great one. Lots of people don't know if they had PPI. So they can't start a PPI claim because they just don't know if they're relevant. So what you'd do is you'd say, we find out if you've had PPI. Now let's say that you're a personal trainer, for example. What's the blockage that's stopping a lot of people booking with a personal trainer? Well, they don't know the price. Now, of course, price is only one element of the whole sales process, blah, 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 but it is an important one for people. So what you can do is you can say, fill in details here to get a free consultation and price, because you know that that price thing, that's what they're thinking. With digital marketing agencies like Exposure Ninja, expertise is a big thing. What do we need to do to people? Well, we need to show them that we know our stuff, and the free review is a great way to do that, because we can then demonstrate our expertise, show them all the stuff that they could be doing with their website, and then they say, great, okay, this looks really good, and then they can make a decision to move forward. So those are the elements. That's how you design your perfect CTA. Start off by drawing where your customer is now and where they need to be. Figure out what you can give them along the way, and then figure out what their objections from doing business with you right now are going to be, and make sure that those are answered by your call to action. Hope that helps. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. And if you've got a killer CTA on your website, leave a link to your site, because we'd love to check it out. If you want some help with your digital marketing, for example, you want to generate more leads or sales through your website, you want to increase your traffic, or you want to increase the profitability of ad campaigns that you're running, then you can request the world famous free marketing review from Exposure Ninja. If you go to www.exposureninja.com, then you can request this review. It's completely no charge, and it's absolutely sick. So what will happen in this review is we'll ask you a bunch of questions on that page. If you go to exposureninja.com and then click the big green button, you'll see that you'll get a questionnaire where we ask a whole bunch of questions about your business, about your marketing goals and all that type of stuff. That just allows us to tailor your review more precisely to your goals. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at your website. We'll have a look at what you're doing currently with your digital marketing. We'll have a look at where you're ranking, any ads that you've been running. We'll take a look at your social media as well. And then we'll put together a prioritized action plan that you can follow to get to your goals, whatever you've told us that your goals are. We'll record this as a 15-minute video, which we'll email over to you, and it's completely awesome. It's totally free, there's no obligation to use our services, although I have to warn you, it is a very compelling first step on the sales journey. So if you request your review, there is a good chance that you're going to become a client. But don't let that put you off. Go and check it out, and I look forward to seeing you soon.